Good morning and welcome. My name is Nicole Osee. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve on your fellowship board of directors. I want to thank you all for being here today and extend a special welcome to any visitors, and we have quite a few today. Welcome. If you would like more information about the fellowship, please visit the welcome table in the fireside room or sign our virtual guest book at uufames.org/guestbook. Whether joining us from home or here in Fellowship Hall, we invite you to stay after the service for Coffee Fellowship, where you can introduce yourself and join in conversation with kindred spirits. And speaking of Coffee Fellowship, stay after the service today for some tasty treats from our youth group. They had a bake-off yesterday, and they invite you to come and sample their creations and vote for your favorite. Also, in terms of food, a Thanksgiving potluck will be held this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the fireside room. Bring your favorite dish and join in a time of togetherness. All are welcome. We've received a lot of great suggestions for next year's offertory recipients. So many, in fact, that we need to narrow down the list before we approve it at our annual meeting in December. Voting on this step in the process is open through this Wednesday. See your weekly email for more information. Next Sunday, we'll celebrate cornbread and cider communion, a new tradition to us, started last year, Thanksgiving tradition. Bring your favorite cornbread or other special bread. We'll provide the cider, and together we'll celebrate the abundance of the harvest and community that gathers here. Next Sunday. Today at 11:15, the Social Justice Circle will be meeting in room 3. If you've ever been interested in finding out more about what they do, please join them. They would love to have you. And one more note, for our wonderful guest music, please hold your applause for our musicians until the end of service. So, on behalf of this caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here, we invite you into an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ames Chamber Artists. The call to worship today are words of the poet William Stafford. Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse you found. Carry into morning all that you have wanted from this day. This interval you spent hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around. Come, let us gather in fellowship. And the chalice lighting today is from Jennifer Green. We light this chalice, symbol of our purpose to bring more love and justice into the world. We light this chalice knowing our congregation is a church dispersed across communities, not bound by walls, but connected through the web of life. Now we will sing hymn 1010 from the Teal hymnal. And the words will be up here. Come forth. Isn't this a beautiful chalice table today? What do you think it's trying to tell us about? Thanksgiving, food, yep. And these embroideries are from our partner church in the country of Romania. So we like to use them on special occasions. So here's a book on Romania. Have you ever heard of it before? Yeah. Yeah, have you? It's in Eastern Europe, and our partner church is in the region called Transylvania. And look, this is a little girl kind of dressed up in her special traditional costume. So I just wanted to give you a few pictures about the partnership. We've had it for about 30 years. This is the church, and the woman opening the gate is Edith, and she and her husband, who's now deceased, were the head of the board of directors for the church. So she's leading us up the steps to the church. And there's Lajos, who's the minister of the church. Look at that heavy black cloak he wears. Isn't that amazing? It weighs a lot. And there's Lajos and his wife Tunda. And they actually live in a different village than the one that we're partnered with, but he serves both villages. And our church partner is Tordot Falva. Can you say that? Tordot Falva, yeah. And it's a very small village with mostly senior citizens. And that's the inside of the church. Looks a little different than ours, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What kind of differences do you notice?
The chairs are different, the benches.
Can you speak a little louder so everybody can hear you?
The chairs are benches.
Oh, yeah, benches, you're right. Yeah. And where do the men sit and where do the women sit? You can't really tell, I guess. But typically the women sit on one side of the room and the men on the other.
Oh, yeah.
And what about that tall thing that looks like a crown? What is that?
Is it a musical instrument?
No, it's the pulpit. Do you see the pulpit? You go up, the minister goes upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the pulpit, and then he looks down at everybody and gives his sermon. And you can see the banner in the back underneath the organ with the doves on it. Do you see that? Well, I don't know if Ginny is here today, but Ginny Huntington made that, and we took it over to the congregation on our first trip. And do you see that stick on the wall there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's called a copia fa, and it's sort of like a totem pole. It tells about a person or an event, and typically they put them in the cemeteries. But this copia fa was carved by that man, and Reverend Kent went over there in 2018 to celebrate the 450th anniversary of the Edict of Torda, which granted freedom of religion, which was very unusual for the time. And then Reverend Kent brought it back for us, and now it's hanging up on the wall. And this is the beautiful countryside in our village. And do you see the steeple in the middle pointing up?
Yeah.
The white steeple, that's our church. So those of us who go over love to come upon that site to see that steeple. It does get snowy in Tordafalva. This actually is the second village that Loyosh works with, and he and many other people renovated this building. It had been old and run down. So he and they renovated it, so now that it's a community center, they have a meals program for senior citizens, they have conferences, they have children's activities. It's a really wonderful thing. I keep hoping I can go see it sometime. And here's just an example of some of the people that meet there. I know he sent me some pictures recently of a guitar gathering for kids. And folk dancing is a big deal over there. So they're doing Hungarian folk dances. So that's just a little taste of our village. What kinds of things come to mind for you when you see those pictures? Pretty. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of trees, and it's very hilly. And everybody produces their own food. They have gardens, plus they have to produce the food for their animals. So they work very hard, and they're always working, and they don't all have indoor plumbing. So we've had to use outhouses when we visit. And they also raise bees and make honey. So, okay, well, let's sing off our kids with This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine.
Thank you, Kitty, for that travelogue and tour. This morning, as we do each Sunday, we will give and receive our offering. Two tests of the religious life are our ability to give and our ability to receive. This morning, as always, half of our non-pledge offering will be donated to the Iowa Wildlife Center, as selected by our religious education students in K through 8th grade. Every year, thousands of birds and other animals in our state are orphaned, injured, sickened, or displaced, often due to human activity that takes its toll. Windows, vehicles, cats, toxins, power lines, habitat clearing, and increasingly dangerous storms due to the climate crisis. The Iowa Wildlife Center provides medical and rehabilitation care and wildlife assistance skills training, and they teach about wildlife and habitat stewardship. The other half of our offering will support programs here in our fellowship that make this a community of inspiration, transformation, and belonging. We'll pass the baskets here in Fellowship Hall, but for those of you at home or anyone here with a cell phone, you can go to uufames.org/give to make your contribution today or any day. If you're visiting today, please know that your presence here is gift enough.
Come thou
Each week, when we gather, we take a few moments to recognize how our lives are connected one to another, that we share space, we share values, we share hopes and dreams and sorrows. We learn that our burdens are lightened as we share them together, and our joys are multiplied. We have a few things to share in our joys and sorrows today. We heard from our member, Matt Ferris, this week. Matt, who lives near Asheville, North Carolina, who was his home, his and his wife's home in Swanania was destroyed by the flooding after Hurricane Helene. We took a collection and sent quite a gift so that they could get back on their feet, and they are back on their feet. They've lived in 3 places since the flood, and now they have a place really to call their own. And in the midst of all of this, Matt is still continuing as the intern at the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Asheville. And there was the flood, and then there was the election. And last week, he was scheduled to preach. Nobody knew what was going to happen, of course, and he and his supervisor talked about it. Should he go ahead on this heavy-duty Sunday? And he did. And his topic was in praise of joy. In the midst of such difficulty, in praise of joy. So he is doing good ministry there, and he sends his love and gratitude to all of us here and wants us to know that they're doing well and they're surviving. So that's our happy news today. Also happy news, last weekend at our Amos, Amid Iowa Organizing Strategy, Amos, a social justice organization, had a big fundraiser last week of which we were a part. About 10 of you came to the event. We raised over $17,000. Isn't that amazing? To do good in the community. So look forward to hearing more about how that will support organizations. We have 2 sorrows to share today. I just a moment ago got a message from Sam Wormley that said his dear friend, Alan Demarest, who sang with Robert Shaw for a number of years, he was at Drake, reached out to Sam and said, please remove me from the mailing list of the fellowship. His friend Alan Demarest had been a part of the Skadberg Science Circle and is now in hospice. And so we lift up both Sam and Alan for your contributions to the intellectual and musical life of this fellowship. Thanks for sharing that with me. And I'll also share this news from Tegan Willeen. Tegan's grandmother, Nancy Cole, died in her home in Indianapolis last week at the age of 85. Tegan says, as a kid, I remember drawing lines in her plush carpet and planting different colored marbles for different crops. Then I would drive the toy tractor around to harvest them. She would supervise my farming while she knit Afghans and watched her game shows. Tegan, we hold you and family in tender care this week. Let's take a moment of silence to continue creating this sacred space together. And if there is a name that is particularly on your heart today that you would like to share into our collected space, please feel welcome to do so. Reagan, Betty and Wayne, Sophia. For all the names and peoples, spoken and unspoken, we open our hearts. We practice that opening to be present to the world. Let's sing Spirit of Life.
Sing in my heart.
So good morning, happy harvest time. Many of you have heard about our partnership with a Unitarian congregation in Tordat-Falva, a small village in the hilly forested region of Transylvania in Romania, in Eastern Europe. To those of you who are unfamiliar with this partnership, and to those of you who could use a refresher, I want to give you a clearer understanding of our partnership, its history, its purpose, and its future. Unitarianism has been deeply rooted in Transylvania since the 1500s due to the influence of Martin Luther King's Reformation movement. Martin Luther. Not quite time for the civil rights. Okay. Martin Luther's Reformation movement. A Transylvanian priest named David Ferenc was going through all his soul searching, trying to find the right religious belief that he felt comfortable with. So he progressed in his religious beliefs from Catholicism to Lutheranism to Calvinism and ultimately to Unitarianism. In 1559, he was appointed the court preacher of János Zsigmond, the Prince of Transylvania. He convinced the prince to allow an open debate on religion, which culminated in the Edict of Torda in 1568. This edict allowed for freedom of religion in Transylvania, allowing people to follow the religion of their choice. Do you understand how revolutionary that idea was? The Copiapha on our wall honors the 450th anniversary of that edict. Romania as a country has experienced many political and social upheavals over the centuries. After World War II, Romania became a satellite of the Soviet Union. In 1965, Nicolae Ceausescu became its second communist leader, i.e., the dictator. In 1989, the political changes occurring in Eastern Europe impacted Romania, and the people staged a revolution. On Christmas Day, 1989, Ceausescu and his wife, Elena, were overthrown and executed. Do any of you remember watching that on TV? I do, yeah. After the overthrow, and remembering that there were Unitarian churches in Transylvania, our Unitarian Universalist Association investigated their status and condition. How were these churches doing? They found that the churches and congregations were struggling to survive after their experiences under the dictatorship of Ceausescu. The idea of partnerships between the United States and European UU congregations and those in Transylvania was developed soon after this revolutionary period and agreed upon. So the first ones formed were in the early 1990s. The partnership goals in the 1990s were largely to offer emotional and financial support as requested and mutually agreed upon, and to assure our fellow Unitarians that they were not alone in the world. In the early days of the partnerships, U.S. congregations were providing basic medical supplies, bandages, aspirin, all that kind of stuff, writing paper, pens, crayons, books in English, very basic items that the ministers identified. At that time, the only ways of communicating were by overseas mail or telephone, both of which could be unreliable. Arranging for packages to be delivered was cumbersome and expensive. U.S. partner churches had fundraising events to help meet financial needs of their partners. Some U.S. congregations helped fund small businesses or purchased farm machinery like tractors, to help their partner congregations, which were relying on horses and manual labor. Many congregations traveled to Transylvania to meet their partners. Some raised funds to bring their partner minister to the U.S. When I moved back to Ames from Virginia in 2000, I asked Brian, our minister, if he knew whether this fellowship had a partnership. I had become involved through my church in Virginia and had been over twice to visit. Brian investigated the issue and learned that a partnership with Toordot Falva had been assigned in the early 1990s when Sidney Morris was the minister here, but it was considered inactive. Early partnerships were more difficult to develop because of language issues. Our Unitarian friends over there speak Hungarian for the most part. I mean, they have to speak Romanian in their day-to-day lives, but they speak Hungarian in their homes, in their churches, in their schools. So we had the language issue and the limited options for communicating easily. With Brian's support and leadership, the UUFA revived the partnership. And in 2002, Brian arranged for the new minister, Lajos, and his wife, Tunda, to visit Ames when he found out that they were in Berkeley, California, where Lajos was a Balázs scholar at the Star King Seminary. They visited our congregation for a week, with our members taking them to different points of interest, including the Linda Barnes Mark Runquist farm, and we would share potluck meals. Lajos and Brian shared the pulpit one Sunday. Lajos in his heavy black cape. It was a wonderful week of getting to know each other. Were any of you involved at that time? This was in 2002. Were you? Great, great. I had pneumonia that week, so I... Over the course of our partnership, we have had personal contact with and made friendships within the Toordot Falva congregation. Our congregation has made 3 trips to visit Toordot Falva in 2004, 2007, and 2011, which was actually a choral tour. In 2010, the Witherspoon family visited the village on a personal trip to Europe. They'd already been planning to go, and they just went on over to visit the village. Linda Barnes, who had lived on the farm out near Marshalltown, was in the seminary. She's now a UU minister in New Hampshire. And she had experienced the Partner Church program here in the fellowship. When she became a seminary student, she applied for and was awarded a scholarship to travel to Transylvania to help Unitarian seminarians with their English skills. Reverend Kent visited in 2018 to attend the Edict of Torda 450th anniversary events, and he brought this back with him. I couldn't figure out how he could get it in a suitcase, but it comes apart. Our friendships have lasted 20-plus years since Lajos and Tunda's visit to Ames and our first pilgrimage in 2004. We have seen children grow up into young adults. Sadly, some of our beloved friends have died, but we have wonderful photos and memories of our visits. One year, we produced a calendar using some of our beautiful photos from our trips. We sent a few over to Lajos, and he responded by, "Do you have enough for everybody?" They all wanted their own copy. So all of these contacts have provided a source of love and joy for all of us who've been involved. So our partnership is nearly 30 years old from the 1994-ish time. It is time now to review the expectations and accomplishments and decide what to focus on in the future. Luckily, the basic needs of the village have been eased over time as more European resources have become available to them. The Unitarian ministers like Lajos are very entrepreneurial in creating small businesses and services that can earn income for their communities. I hope that we can now focus on, 1, identifying congregational members to actively participate in building up the partnership. 2, more frequent communication, including more use of Zoom, with Loyosh being involved. 3, setting up another pilgrimage to visit in person. And 4, offering emotional support to each other. We will continue to provide a yearly budgeted amount of money that they can count on, and we will continue to respond to requests for assistance as they occur. I think I forgot to mention something. I forgot to mention that when our church was flooded, when the downstairs level was flooded, maybe it was about 2010, the partner church sent us $500 from their small budget to help us. We were just blown away by that. In a sense, however, our roles are in a mode of changing right now, might be shifting, because we are facing similar political challenges that our friends in Transylvania experienced. We will need their advice and support in the days and months to come to gain perspective and cope with what potentially lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kitty, for your good words and for teaching me and for bringing your passion for this project forward. I had heard about the Partner Church service from the time I was in seminary, and the Partner Church project since I was in seminary, and one of my teachers was very involved in it, but it was always over there, over there. And so to come here and be connected to you and thus connected to the congregation in Tordot Falva, doesn't it just trip off the tongue? Tordot Falva is new for me, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to get to know it, and truly for your passion for this project. Loyosh and I have emailed a bit. Their Thanksgiving service was the last Sunday in September, and these are some of the words that he has shared in emails, both with me and with Reverend AJ before. Loyosh says, "We give thanks for our partnership and our friendship. Our partnership gives us hope and strength and helps us through hard times. Thanksgiving is a wonderful and meaningful time for us. Gratitude is one of the most important divine gifts and human virtues. If we see life with gratitude, it will be easier and happier. We've not forgotten how you rushed in to help us many times over the years and how important your financial and spiritual support has been. I give thanks for you all, for the years we've been connected in faith and in love. In these hard times, there is a common faith and hope. When we share our Thanksgiving communion of bread and wine, we have the feeling that you are together with us in love and spirit. Today, please feel that we are also with you. Our faith is connected to your faith, and our prayers are your prayers." I think we do have much to learn about resilience in the face of difficulty. Romania now again has a right-wing government, if not as far authoritarian as their neighbors Hungary, with strongman Viktor Orban on one side, and another partial border shared with Ukraine, which, as we know, is under siege. Little Moldova is right to the west, and they do have a progressive liberal government. Go Moldova. That Edict of Torda, which called for religious tolerance, was the first of its kind in 1568. And remember, Martin Luther had just been, was in 1517, so things didn't happen quite so fast in those days. The Reformation, the reforming of belief was very lively and still very much happening. In practice, the edict only sanctioned the existence of 4 received denominations: Catholic, Lutheran, Calvinist, and Unitarian. And rights are only as good as our ability to defend them. So what is a right on paper may not be in practice as governments come and go. This theopolitics is very lively in our imaginations now as we, and I choose these words carefully, look down the barrel of Christian nationalism. So we can be grateful to the hundreds of thousands of Unitarians, of Transylvanian Unitarians who stuck by their Christian Unitarian beliefs despite the oppressive governments around them. And grateful for scholars who developed this theology, for those who taught the next generation, for people who wrote down the histories, who did not want to worship God under what they saw as a pretense of the Trinity, who did not want to follow non-biblical creedal requirements. Those people who are so resilient in the face of difficulty. Our cousins in lands afar, that we are honored and privileged to support and learn from and receive their blessing as we bless them. I want to say one word about the Partner Church Council. It was a part of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and it was disbanded in 2021. Shocker. What will happen? Now, there is the International Unitarian Universalist Collaboration, the International UU Collaboration. And do you know, as a church dispersed, we have Unitarian, Universalist, and Unitarian and Universalist. It's a branding issue. Long name. Congregations, not only in Transylvania, not only in England, but in Switzerland and France and the Netherlands and Italy, in Europe, and also in Thailand and the Philippines and Argentina and Burundi and Uganda and Kenya and other places around the globe. Isn't that something? We happen to be the only Unitarian Universalist fellowship here in Ames, Iowa, and sometimes we can feel terminally unique. We're not like all those other folks. But in fact, we are connected in a global network of love and hope. And that is worth our investment of time, talent, and treasure. Let us be about the work. And now, let us be about the music. Let's sing number 159, This Is My Song. I said to the planners this week, yes, it's the second time that we'll sing the tune of Finlandia 2 weeks in a row, and that's just fine with me. Please stand as you are able.
This is my song of peace.
Before we close, I want to say some words of gratitude today for our tech team, Donald and Mary and Titus and Melissa, for our facilitators here, for Karen, and I'll say to Kitty a special thanks for today, for all you've brought to this. Yep. And for our musicians, for Amber and Elijah, and for the Ames Chamber Artists led by Jennifer Rogers. For all the coffee servers and greeters and the cleanup team, it takes many, many hands to make a Sunday morning work. And so we're so grateful that you're here and a part of all that we do. Oh, and thanks to the youth group for the treats that we're going to have. I'm looking forward to that apple pumpkin bread. Isn't that the one? Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to. As we depart this space and we extinguish our chalice, this invitation to be brave, be kind, be just, be merciful, be hopeful. This is how we keep our chalice flame burning until we are together again to light it anew. Blessed be, and go in peace.